I've got a couple notes here. I'm Jeff Marchant from Marchant Real Estate Group and Team Lynn at EXP. Before we get started, you're probably noticing we're missing one of our panelists, our couples. Rhonda and Corey for dinner won't be here because Corey has COVID. So send lots of love, prayers, good energy their way. It hit him pretty hard, so they won't be joining us today. Let's see. Actually, I want to do something real quick.
I don't think so.
If you guys will indulge me for a second, I've never been in this part of the room. I'm always down there. So can I create a memory real quick? Oh. You can see my screen better than I can. I took a picture of you.
Oh, perfect.
So cute.
All right, guys. Say cash buyer. Awesome. Thanks for that. Okay, so our
No mic.
no mic.
Oh, maybe it did kill it. Did it kill it? So just turn.
Jeff talks really loud,
I
so
don't really need the mic, but we're going to record this for later, so we have a little shareable. That's fine. Test. Ooh.
there you go. There you go.
Okay, so our main sponsor today is Neo Home Loans. And when I said cash buyer, it kind of ties in with what they have to offer. If any of you are interested in talking to Mike out there, get his contact information. We've got the flyer on here because they've got options that some buyers don't have. They've got affiliate companies that can actually go put a cash offer on a property for your sellers that are hesitant to go and buy a property because they don't, or I mean to sell their property because they're not sure they're going to be able to find one to replace what they're selling. So we run into that a lot. They've also got some great options for appraisal gap coverage that we're dealing with, kind of taking the money that they have available and working out some creative options that way. So talk to them, and then we've got Kathy out here that checked you in with Novation Title. We were just at their office yesterday. Has anybody closed with Novation? Nobody. Try them out, get with Kathy, go check out their office. They kind of make closings fun, a little bit more energetic than just what we are typically used to. So let me ask who's here. How many of you are actual couples working together? Almost everybody. And are you currently working together in real estate? Or, yeah? Who is here that isn't working together is trying to figure out if they think it might be worth it or not? Okay, I'm still trying to figure it out too. I'm with that group. Let's see. We're going to officially introduce ourselves here in just a minute, but Lynn and I started as investors. We were 22 years old when we bought our first investment property. By the time we were 36, we had 60 investment properties. How many of you just thought in your head, I wish I would have, or maybe I should have, maybe bought more, or bought some, got started earlier? That's kind of what we also thought when we started working together as a couple. It wasn't in real estate. We started at a landscape business. So when she quit her job and finally came and was spending time at home with the kids and helping me with my business, she said, I wish we would have done this sooner. So I kind of wanted to set that up because a lot of people think about it and a year goes by, another year goes by, another year goes by. And then when they finally do it and find out that it can actually work, they wish they would have done it sooner. So in the landscaping business, it was a little bit different because it was very easy to separate our roles. And a lot of you from signing up, I can tell that's a big thing on how do we separate the roles, right? In landscaping, it's easy. I do all the manual labor stuff, right? And then did the bookkeeping and the phones and the scheduling, and I went out and did the work. A little bit different in real estate, so we're going to talk about that today. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dave. Dave is going to be our moderator. He's a serial entrepreneur. He runs. He's got his hands in several companies, security systems, marketing companies. He's an investor. He's also a realtor. Most people, when I run into them and they know Dave, it's like, oh, I love that guy. He's just that guy that makes you feel good. If any of you know Dave, you would know what I'm talking about. If not, get to know him. So Dave is going to kind of kick us off and keep us in tow. We only got a little bit of time. We got a lot of personalities up here, and somebody has to corral us so that we can kind of stay on task. We'll do some open Q&A at the end and make it to where you guys, kind of write down your questions or something, and we'll get to those towards the end.
Yep.
You good?
Yep.
You're up.
All right, everybody. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're doing this for you, and I mean, I think there's value that everybody can learn from this panel. But like, engage, right? Make it fun. If you've got questions, like Jeff said, we're gonna do some open Q&A. From the survey that you all filled out at the beginning, we've got a bunch of questions, so we'll just start going through some of these. But before we do that, why don't we just take and go down the line here, starting with you two, and just do a quick introduction of, I don't know, maybe how you guys met, how long you've been working in real estate together, and your favorite cereal.
I don't need cereal anymore. So let's see if this is on. Can you hear me? All right. Well, thanks, Dave. My name's Eric. This is my wife, Michelle. We have been working together for a short while in real estate, but we've been married 14 years, and we've always wanted to work together. So I've been a realtor since 2002. So a long time, 18, 19 years. And Michelle just joined me about 6 months ago, or about 6 months ago. Yeah, she's been a registered nurse for 12 years.
Awesome. Anything you want to add?
Nope.
We got to make Michelle just kind of warm up a little bit. She's a little nervous.
You guys don't know this, but this might be a once in a lifetime to see Michelle here.
Cannons?
Gary and Sheridan Cannon. I've been in the business 37 years, and she's, I think, pushing 20.
He's a lot older than me. That's the only reason he has more years.
Here we go. We met in real estate. Interesting. We've been married 23 years. I'm going to tell you that. But, I was showing homes to a client who happens to be here with us today, and is an agent in our office.
Wow.
And, sometimes I blame him, and sometimes most of the time I blame him. She was sitting in a model home, and after I was done showing the house, after I was done showing them houses, I said, I've got to go back there and really get to know that house. That's it. That's about us.
I can't believe you didn't take that from him. She wouldn't.
Do you see me sitting on my hands?
Yes. I don't know why all the guys are talking. Jeff and Lynn Marchant, we've been together 31 years. I didn't get licensed as an agent till 2009, and Lynn got licensed in 2014. But our story goes back to when we first got together. We've always worked together, so our story is a little bit different. We didn't, blend that or bring that into the relationship later. It started out that way, so we don't really know any other way, and we figured out a lot of things along the way that really makes it work. And so hopefully we can add some value to you guys here today. And was I supposed to say something
But
else?
no one said
Oh,
that.
I like
No
oatmeal.
one said their favorite cereal.
I know. I was just going to say.
I like oatmeal.
Perfect. Oh, that's good. Sweet. Well, we'll go ahead and jump into some of these questions. There are a couple questions that were asked multiple times. So we're going to start with those first. So the first one, and as a panel, feel free if you've got an answer right off the bat, just jump in and share it. But we'll just jump into it here. So the first one is how to separate business from the relationship. So as a couple in your relationship, how do you separate or create boundaries around business and the relationship?
Michelle should go first.
All right. So we were talking about this the other day, and I feel like it's actually, I don't know, we're like not that couple that sits at the restaurant and we don't have anything to say. Like, it's brought us closer together, and we have more to talk about now with our clients in real estate and our investment property, and it just has brought us a lot closer together with things to talk about and bond with.
Anything as far as boundaries go? Do you feel like that's something you have come across yet, or anything like that?
We're still working on that, the boundary part, because it's kind of funny because when I was doing real estate without her for so long, I always felt guilty sometimes. I got to go show a house at 7 o'clock at night on a Friday. And she's like, "Oh, we just sat down for dinner," and I felt guilty about it. But now that we're working together, she knows what's going on in my business and our business together. So it actually has made the boundaries a little easier. But yeah, we're still working on like kind of how to shut it off, because it's more like, okay, we shut it off on Sunday, but we end up, working more, but we also have more free time during the day sometimes, where she was a full-time nurse for 12 years. If I had a slow time at 1:30 in the afternoon, I couldn't just go hang out with her for a half hour.
Right.
So that's been really nice.
Awesome. Anybody else want to jump in on that question?
We don't have any boundaries. Actually, I prefer it that way. I mean, your work is the majority of your life, right? Besides sleep. And so when people say balance, it's not really like 50-50, right? Work and personal time. There's no way it could be that way. So when I say we don't have boundaries, it's we're on the same page in all areas of our life. It's not like she goes to work, I go to work, and then we try and have family time. When we do have family time when we don't talk about work, but when it comes up, it's because we're setting goals together, we're pursuing the same objectives. We understand each other, like Eric and Michelle were talking about. When she was a nurse and he was in real estate, separate industries and not necessarily understanding or maybe even caring about what the other person did all day. And so to just get it, I mean, what'd you add to that? I just don't think, for us, I like the blend of business and life, and we love what we do. And so it's just perfect for me. I don't need to like shut this off and turn this on. I'm just always on.
I'm not sure if this is working or this is working.
This
is working, okay. So when I talk to people about working together with your spouse in real estate, what I like to mention is that real estate agents are a different breed of animal. I mean, we're different, right? I mean, I go all the time, and there's a lot of people that never get me at all. And so, sorry about that, but he gets me. And he doesn't complain when I'm at work late. He doesn't complain when I'm showing houses late. He understands what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And if I was married to someone else that couldn't even comprehend the stress levels that we can go through when we're working with 14 different people and all of their emotions, they're buying or selling the biggest investment of their life, it's just really nice to have somebody that's like, I get you, if you got to do what you've got to do, and he's never questioning. And so that's what I love about it, is that I have somebody that is by my side that understands the industry, because if he didn't, he wouldn't understand what I go through and the hours that I have to put in sometimes.
Love it. I know you two have a comment to this.
Well, I was just going to say it's easy for us because he just ignores me. So, I can blabber all I want, and he. Yeah. Oh yes.
Different frequencies.
Yeah. No, just kidding. We've been together for so long, and it's just always been like he said. We met. We were both realtors. When we met, so that's really all we know. Mine was a little different. I was strictly working new construction, and his was resale. But we don't really have any boundaries either, really, because it's just us and it's our whole lives. And we have a daughter that's an agent too. So we're just a real estate family, and we do always talk about it. And he will shut it down sometimes, though, when I can keep going forever. But for the most part, it's always worked for us because that's what we've always done. So, what do you want to add?
Why does everybody laugh?
Because it's so thoughtful and methodical.
Because you're choosing your words so carefully.
Yeah.
If I could give advice to anybody, it would be to focus on what you're good at, and let your spouse be what they're good at. Don't try to make them into what you're good or you're great at. Let them be that person. And I think that's probably the greatest challenge in most businesses, and not, let alone being in real estate and working with your spouse, is you're both not going to, well, maybe you are, but I think if she's very good at closing. She could close somebody really quick. It might take me a week, and neither one of those are wrong. Sometimes she says, "Why are you working with them for so long?" And I didn't know it was that long. And I said, "How did you sell them in an hour?" She goes, "That was too long." You know? But so I say focus on your strengths. Let your spouse or your significant other be good at what they're good at too.
Great. Okay, so the next question, there's hard times in life, hard times in business. How do you keep each other motivated or uplift each other during those times?
I come to the office, and on my whiteboard, there's a big sign that says, "Get your ass to work." So that's how he motivates me.
Simple and sweet.
We are really good at travel, and if we don't have 2 or 3 things in front of us, I start going nuts. And I think when it comes to the ups and downs of your emotions, I think you've got to have this end goal you're both looking forward to get away and shut things off. And she'll challenge me, "Hey, let's try here, or let's go here," and a lot of times, that involves our family. Most of the time, it doesn't. But a lot of them are here, so I kind of joke at them a little bit. But that's how we do it. We try to have some type of travel in our windshield, 2 or 3 deep all the time, and knowing that that's going to be, while we're here, we're working and we're focused, and we're also being able to look at that next time that we're going to be away with each other and be able to spend some quality time together.
I don't have anything that specific, but we're always motivating each other by just sharing our energy, and we're kind of playing the same game. And so if she's down, I know how to, compliment or say the right things that just kind of brings her energy back and focuses back on what really matters, because all of the shit is just, can I say shit in here?
Oh, I said ass.
It's temporary, right? I mean, that's not your life and your future when things are going bad. Like you mentioned, during tough times, everybody has tough times, and if they say they don't, they're lying, because we all just go through stuff in our life that we need our partner, and we need somebody there that we can steal their energy from. And so I think that's what we are for each other. We're always there for each other, and working together, and the personal, back to those no boundary things, you really have to develop some communication skills. You can't, who in here has gone, you don't have to raise your hand, but a day or 2 without talking to your partner because of some stupid fight or whatever? We can't afford to do that. That's your vacation? We just can't afford to do that every day. There's too much that we're co-involved with that we got to work it out. And so we've developed a good practice of identifying when we have those issues. Like, for instance, even if we're on a walk and we're arguing about something, it's like, by the time we get home, damn it, this is going to be figured out, and we're going to get about our day. And most of the times we do.
I think this is a really good question, actually, because Jeff and I went through the last downturn together. We had a lot of real estate. We weren't agents at that time, but it was really, really tough. And coming together during that time, how did that happen? When we watched people separate, we watched families that were just destroyed. I think what happened is we both realized, holy cow, we're both going through the same thing together. It's not just about Jeff, and it's not just about Lynn. And if you can look at your spouse and say, oh my gosh, they're going through exactly what I'm going through, and try to compromise and figure out, how can I, be that person for them, and understand that you're not alone, because that person's going through the same things you are, because you're a couple together, you have family together. And by the way, we didn't say that 2 of our amazing real estate agent children are in the front row, and they support us, and we don't do all those vacations, and we really should. And I think that component of a vacation that you guys were talking about, getting away, I think is good.
Well, the bad thing when we take a family vacation, we take our whole team with us. Because all three of our kids work for us. We're more than just couples working together. We're a family team. And we can save that for another panel. But.
Yeah. Anyway, compromise. Big deal.
I don't know if you guys have ever had bad days in real estate before, but I have. And, working, I've got a lot of friends that are realtors, and, sometimes you're in the office, sometimes you're working alone, but when things are going bad and you feel your emotions and you're going down and your frustrations are going up, when you're working by yourself, whether you're in an office or your home, it's real easy to kind of just, I'm going to just start over tomorrow. This is just not working out. And it's 10:30 in the morning, right? So you're like, I'm done with the day. But when Michelle started working with me, if some things were going wrong, or we're having a tough day, she's like, we need to do this, we need to do this. And she would keep me on pace and actually turn that day around, which is really powerful because it's easy to kind of get lost in a day. And all of a sudden it's Thursday or Friday and you're starting over next week. And I think it's really, really helped us. It's helped me a lot just to stay on track business-wise. And I'll second what Gary said. Do what you're good at, because I'm not one of those agents that's good at everything. I have certain things I'm excellent at and other things I'm good at but I don't want to do, and then there's other things I'm not good at all. So Michelle just has really taken over a lot of the things that she enjoys, that she's also good at, that I've ignored, and it's been huge for us.
You want
No.
I need to find a question just for you. Okay, so I think this goes more along the lines of communication, but basically if you have, a same client or any certain situation, how do you guys communicate so everybody's on the same page? Is it like a tool? How do you keep track? What can you add to that?
We've implemented just doing group chats on texting with our clients, so we're all on the same page with everything.
Awesome. Anybody else?
One of the advantages of working with Lynn is we're so different, our personalities, so we can pass off clients to the other that are going to be more suited to work with that person. We don't go on listing appointments together anymore because that was just horrible. That did not work well. We stopped getting listings. I think we just confused them. So we kind of have our own appointments, but personality-wise, moving through the transaction, she'll take lead on one of my clients if she's better suited to communicate with them, give them what they need. She's very personable, I'm very analytical and very direct. And she's the kind of person that if you know her long enough, at some point you're going to say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I've never told anybody this before. And then, you're like, because she listens, she cares, and people know that. And not that I don't care, but it comes across it in a different way. So that's a huge advantage to be able to have that trait that I don't possess to lean on when I know it's going to better serve our client.
Well, and when we were a little bit smaller, he would do a lot of the transaction coordination and I would do a lot of the other work. And so what we did is we did exactly what Gary was talking about. We figured out what is it that we're best at. And as a team, we really killed it. We didn't talk a whole lot, and he'd be, in his office, I'd be in mine, and we're fine with that. As long as the work's getting done and we're happy and our clients are happy. And now that we're a little bit bigger, we do, the way that we are, talking is also in that group texting, but also on email. We have constant communication. I have constant communication with our team, but we do have a transaction coordinator. And then we also have a marketing person. So we have employees at this point, but in communicating, I like the group text also. I think that works really well.
We're both on the same calendaring system. Like to say that works 100% of the time. It doesn't always do so. Another thing, if you have, I'm more of a morning person. She's more of an afternoon and evening. Her focus is strongest at her mind's more in the morning. So I may be going 100 miles an hour in the morning and I need to tell her something. Sometimes we'll communicate it. We may back it up with a text. Just not that we're purposely forgetting, but sometimes you do forget, and it's nice to remind them that you did tell them that. Doesn't happen, at least half the day. But so calendaring is a big thing, just to kind of keep you both on the same schedule for the day or the week, and then texting important information if there's any details involved in it.
I think another thing where we differ from not everyone, I'm sure there's some others out there too, but we work as a team, but I have my book of clients and he has his, and they're not the same. We don't, once in a while we'll pass off a buyer or seller, but for the most part, we work together, but we work separate. But we always come together in the end and talk about, this or that. One thing he's really good at that is shutting it down. When he gets home, it's usually before me. He's winding down, and when I get home at 7 o'clock or whatever, and I'm still geared up and ready to go and want to tell him about my day, he's like, I'm done. Let's, wait till
at 4
tomorrow.
a.m.
Yeah. So that's always worked out really well for us. But we've also had it where we were both in the business before we got together. It wasn't, one joined, after the other, and trying to make, like he mentioned earlier, if he's good at one thing and wants it that way, wants it done that way, he knows now better than to say my way's better. Because he knows that my way's better now, so he doesn't try to convince me that his way's better anymore, but at least he gets it now.
Great answers. Okay, so this goes back to, I really think developing those traits and those skill sets that, one partner has that the other doesn't. So is there any tips or tricks as far as staying in your own lane or helping develop those skill sets so you know who's good at what?
Well, I think it becomes quite apparent really quick if you start working together who's better at something than others. I don't particularly like all the transaction coordination part of it or reviewing HOA docs, and I do like the contracts. I like the negotiation. I like the terms and the addenda and all that kind. But the review of documents, I don't love it, but she loves it less. and she just doesn't have the bandwidth. If she ever leaves me, I need to hire 5 or 6 more people to replace her. She's very, very busy. So those things that I can take, even though they're not my favorite things to do, if I can take that so that she can shine where she's better at, that's what works for us. And so it's not like, I don't always complain about it, but I do things that aren't my favorite thing to do because I know that that's just part of the team dynamic. And we do work the same clients. Well, she has hers and I have mine, but all of our clients are together. And so it's not like, I don't talk to her clients and she doesn't talk to mine. We do have that crossover that you guys don't. And especially on that kind of stuff, when the PRs come in and when we got documents to review, I get that text or that email, and due diligence deadlines and made aware of that, and that's my task.
I want to say don't be critical, because that's something we end up doing to our spouse because they're our best friend, they're someone we spend a lot of time with, and they just don't always do the same thing the way that you do it. And so instead of being critical and saying, well, why did you talk to a person this way? Or, talk it out, figure out what works best for you. But I think that's the biggest component, is not putting each other down, because he is so much better at some things that I am terrible at, and vice versa. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that, he is the way he is and I am the way I am. And so we need to love and accept each other and work together that way. And I think that's a really big component.
I think we, as far as working together well and separating different tasks is, I think, I can't remember who it was, I just heard this a few days ago, but someone said to us, you guys are really busy, you guys have gotten really busy lately. And I was thinking, not really. We've been busy for a long time, but Michelle's been posting on social media. She's kind of taken that over. I had like one post on my Instagram the last 5 years, and now she's running with it, and people are seeing more of what we're doing, and it's just been a big help, because it's something that I know I should do, but I've got other important things that I need to do that seem more important, so it always gets backburnered, and Michelle's taken that on, and it's been amazing, because not only is it a relief for me, but it gets done, and it gets done much better, because she's much better at it than I am anyway. So, and I wanted to mention too what Michelle said about the group text. That is awesome. If you guys start working with a client, I get a client that Michelle doesn't even know about, and I'm having that conversation with her. The very first time I send them a message, I add Michelle and introduce her and let that potential client know that we work as a team. So everything goes through that chat. So at some point, if I'm super busy or she's taken over, she knows exactly what's going on in that transaction, and it's not a surprise if Michelle calls or goes and helps that client out, because they already know we work as a team. So we're not doing that introduction later, and it's not like a handoff of saying, hey, I'm sorry, I'm really busy, I'm gonna hand you off to somebody else. No, we're not. We're a team, and we work together, and they know that right from the beginning. So it's been a huge blessing for our business and how we work together. So if you guys work together as a couple, I think that's a great strategy right from the beginning. Don't waste time on it.
Candace, anything to add?
If you can find some common ground or something to communicate about your day that isn't about the business, we are 90% of the time we're reading or listening to the same book. And at the end of the day, that may be what we come back to, is talking about what we got out of the book, and 99% of the time, it's, believe it or not, it's something completely different, or something jumped out at me that wasn't relevant to her, or vice versa. And that's been, we stumbled on that. But I can tell you, it's been very nice to be able to have something to talk about that we learned that day outside of the business.
Okay, next question, Michelle. This one's coming to you. What do you do when you don't agree?
I've learned to just be quiet. I just bite my tongue, honestly, because I just don't want to upset him.
Is that really true?
I don't know. Is it? You add to that.
Well, we actually get along really well.
We really do.
I mean,
This is couples therapy, by the way, if you didn't know this.
we're the weird couple that just always get along. We don't fight very often at all. And really, one of the main reasons Michelle wanted to work with me is because we wanted to spend more time together. We thought it would be a great avenue, right? Mm-hmm. So, but we had some hidden exciting benefits from just being able to be together more. It's expanded our relationship. And I like what you're saying, I think, Lynn, about like going out to dinner and you're talking about real estate. We don't really try to turn it off. We just enjoy talking about what we're doing. And I got to tell you, when she was working as a nurse for 10, 12 years, sometimes you know how when your spouse is telling you about their day and you're like, who is Jenny again? I can't remember. You talk about her sometimes, but you're kind of following along, but you don't get the full picture of a story. But when we're talking about what we do every day, it's really meaningful, and I think it really has helped our relationship a lot. We get along even better than we did before. Did that answer your question?
That was great.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to add anything else to that?
Well, I think you're gonna have disagreements with any partner you have, whether it's your significant other, your spouse, or just a business partner. And so, but when it is somebody that you love, then you got to find ways to work that out. So when we disagree, it's just because we have different personalities, experience, and perspectives, like anything else. So it's not like I'm right and she's wrong. It's a blend of the two a lot of times. And so just talking about it, and we've developed this over the years, right? It just didn't come naturally. When she first was considering getting our license, when my son Chase here was a senior, and so now she was ready to kind of expand her roles and get into her license with me, I had been trying to coerce her to do it for years, right? And I would say, Lynn, all you got to do is talk to people. I'll do everything else. Because the people love her, right? You just talk to people and then I'll take care of all the transactions and stuff. And I remember one instance particularly where she came to me with a question and a contract, and I was annoyed because I was doing something else. And the way she looked at me and looked down at me, and she said, but you told me all I had to do was talk to people and you'd take care of the rest. Meaning, you're not holding up your end of the damn bargain. But it made me feel like shit. I mean, she like emotionally made me feel like, you're right. You know, I'm not doing what I said I would do. And so it just brings on a new conversation.
Well, sometimes we're the meanest to the people we love the most, right? We can be mean to our kids, we can be mean to our spouses, and when he's not nice, he's really not nice. I mean, like he's, and you know, and I'm the same way because we're both super driven. And so what we've learned though is to really love that about each other. I love his passion. I think about being married to anyone else and not having someone as passionate about what he does like Jeff does, about passionate about helping people grow and expand. I just love that about him. And so, yes, if he gets short with me once in a while, I can deal with that because he's everything else to me.
That was a great answer.
I know.
No, I don't dare say anything. I'm just kidding. I want to kind of bounce a little bit off of what Jeff said because it may all look like, you know, rose petals and flowers, but it's really tough. You know, in the beginning, it was tough, and there's definitely arguments and disagreements and doing things in a different way. We have evolved into, you know, what we are now, which is it just works for us. But we also own a brokerage, and he's the broker, and you know, his first and foremost, his focus is our agents, and I love that about him as well. Sometimes it's hard when I have to remind him, okay, dude, I'm one of your agents too. I need some one-on-one time because he has one-on-one, you know, with all of our agents. But so sometimes, and when I have a broker question too, I have to remind him, okay, you're my broker too. So. But for the most part, but it's taken a while. We don't really, I don't even know if I'd call them disagreements anymore. It's more of, okay, I got to bounce this off you. Maybe that's kind of how we say, I probably would have done that different, or, or how would you have handled this? He'll say that to me a lot of times, or if in this scenario, you know, what would you have done? But we evolved into that, and a lot of therapy. We've had a lot of therapy, a lot. So.
Great. Okay, so let's move into marketing as a couple. Is there anything specific that you guys do as far as marketing together, individually, tools? Again, what is it that you do together as far as marketing?
Do we always have to go first?
You don't have to go first. Someone else can go first. You just point them out.
I'll go first. You can go second. So we mentioned before that our kids work for us. It kind of evolved that way as well. You know, our oldest daughter, you know, went through college. She got her master's. She got her CPA. She got a corporate tax job at Deloitte, and then she got pregnant. And she wanted to be a mom more than she wanted to be a corporate, you know, tax accountant. And so our kids all have their strengths as well that they bring to the table. And so she does our transaction coordinating, coordination and bookkeeping, and Sydney here that's here with us today, she's my creative, the marketing. So we like the couple dynamic and the family dynamic, so we I wouldn't say exploit that, but I mean, that's who we are. And so that's the way we advertise. We are a team, and it creates some good conversations, some relationships. You guys are all here because of conversations that probably started on Facebook about couples working together, and Dave and Eric and I are in the same brokerage, and we were talking about, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea to put together a panel of couples? I've never seen that before. And I wouldn't have met the Cannons. I've known of the Cannons, but I've never met them in person until that connection was made as we were looking for additional panelists. And so if nothing else, the Berdiners, who unfortunately aren't here with us, and the Cannons and the relationships that we started just because of being a couple in business, to me was totally worth it to start that conversation. And we might get to know some of you better because you'll connect with maybe one of the couples up here and pursue that relationship, and we can help each other. So yeah, we do market the couples and the family. Our card on one side, it has Lynn and I as a couple. On the other side, has a whole family. And when I'm handing it out, I introduce that. And I say, yeah, this doubles as my family portrait for the year.
Cannons?
We do stuff independently of each other. We do stuff together, where we both have our own sphere of influence. For an example, calendars. Both of our names are on our annual calendars. When we do client events, sometimes we'll put us both on there. Sometimes it'll be individualized, just sold cards. Depends on who listed the house. And so for us, it's just doing something. If somebody can't be there for a picture and something needs to go out, you just do it and you get it done. And I think doing something is the right answer, whether it's together or not.
My picture is on all of my marketing, and it's on all of his marketing too. I'm just kidding.
So I'm going to say again that our advertising efforts have gone up tenfold since Michelle joined me.
He had no marketing game before I came on.
It's true. I've been a referral. All my business comes from referrals, but it's just been fantastic for Michelle to just say, hey, we need to do this right now. When you're talking about just sold, just listed, and things like that, there's a time frame where it's urgent to do it, and I would always push it back. So that's been a huge benefit, and we do everything together. So all of our marketing is as a team, but she's got a great eye for design and how things should look, and it's just a really good fit for both of us now that we're working together. And she's right, I had no game that way. And it wasn't that I didn't want to do it, it's just, how everything is prioritized out in your day. And for some reason for that was like, well, if I have time, I'll do that. Because other things are more urgent in my mind, and she's completely flipped that. She's like, no, that's what's most important, because we have time to do the other things later. So it's been great. We do it all together. But she does it all.
I want to say something really quickly about their marketing is they make everything look like it's a ton of fun. So any of you that have a personality that wants to have fun, I watch them, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're having so much fun together. So anyway, that's what I see about their marketing.
Here's your plug. What's your Instagram handle?
I don't even know. It's like Shelly_and_erock.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, this one comes back more to the business of real estate, and all of you have experience in this, but talk about creating wealth or long-term wealth and passive income through real estate and what it's been able to do for you in your life and business.
Can I talk on that? Okay, so I just had an agent reach out to me last night that was really unhappy with just, I guess, everything about his business. And I asked him, I said, so what kind of retirement plan do you have, right? Because a lot of agents don't invest in real estate. And he kind of went, well, I have my house and I have my car paid off and I have some money in the bank. and he doesn't have any real estate, doesn't have any rentals. So to me, investing, and Jeff's really good at talking about this because obviously we started out as investors, is, you know, invest in what you sell. And I think that's what really sets me apart as an agent, is when I'm walking with someone through a house the very first time, I am never that agent that says, oh, look at your family could sit at this table and they would love to look at the view and it's such a wonderful house. I'm pointing out everything wrong with it. And that is from managing, you know, over, you know, a lot of rental houses. And so I would say that that you need to have a retirement plan. And if you're working together on that, I think investing in real estate is a really good idea.
Yeah, like she said, we started out that way. When we were young, we just knew that we were in charge of creating our own destiny and our own future, and we really felt empowered that way. So buying our first investment property at 22 years old, well, our first property became our first investment property. We never even moved in it because of the cash flow actually paid our rent. And, you know, we set goals from that point forward. We had other businesses that we did. Like I said, we didn't get licensed as realtors till later. So that was a shift in going from making all the decisions myself, making my own investments for my own personal gain, to then learning how to help somebody else accomplish their goals and their dreams. But I will tell you, just anybody, any of you that invest in real estate should be attracting a good number of people that want to do what you've done. So a lot of my buyer clients are either new or seasoned portfolio builders because they want to do what we've done. And going back to the team dynamic that we're talking about today, I tell all of them the best thing about working with me is you get her, because she's been managing these properties for so long. I mean, imagine if you've got 60 doors, in 1 year you're going to have a lot of experiences, right? If you've only got 2 rentals, it's going to take you 30 years to have the same amount of experience or situations that arise that she gets in 1 year. And so combining that knowledge, because we manage our own portfolio, with just being an investor, it's made all the difference for us. I mean, we're now reaping the rewards from what we did 30 years ago. It's all delayed gratification. I've done tons of flips. I've done a lot of short-term stuff, but that's just like a job. That's like you're doing transactions. You're buying and you're selling properties further. You got to do it again next month. Eric and I talk about this all the time. He's like, I got no clue what I'm going to make in real estate next June. I don't even know if I can plan a vacation or not. I don't know what my workload's going to be like because it's unpredictable. My retirement was predictable back when I was in my 20s. When I did certain things, I knew over time if I kept that property rented, kept it maintained, it would produce a certain result down the road. So investing's huge. It's made all the difference for us.
Cannons?
I don't know an answer to this one. We have a philosophy, and it's more addresses and less tires. For whatever that's worth, you got to have fun. You got to have the stuff when you do that. But we also focus on the addresses. The faster you can take your focus off of paying off your house and put your focus on investing in more real estate and more addresses, the quicker you're going to accomplish whatever your retirement goals are and whenever they are. You know, we're fortunate we're in a business you may not need to retire. So quit focusing on paying off your house and focus on additional addresses.
Yeah, I love that. We were just having a discussion with a new agent that was coming on our team earlier this week and was renting, you know, and it's interesting because we've had a lot of new agents that have bought their first house after getting into real estate and joining a team, and you have to invest in your product, and that's so important because if you're out there, you know, when I first started real estate, I was renting and I was selling other people's houses a long time ago, and it is a mindset change when you do that. So investing in your own product for yourself and also retirement is huge.
Okay, so we've got a couple more questions, then I want to open it up for any questions we have in here. So the next one, does it ever cause problems with who makes the most money?
She gets it all.
It's the truth.
That's my answer.
Any other thoughts to that?
It doesn't make a difference to us at all. So it all goes at the same place, I think. You don't have an issue with it, right?
I think it's great when she's making more money than me. And I don't know how much that is. We don't really fault, we know our bills are paid, we know our needs are met, we know our kids are living good lives, and we're trying to provide the best we can. And when she has a great month or a great year, we celebrate it. And when I have a great month or a great year, we celebrate it. And we both have great years, we celebrate that too. So we haven't had to deal with that.
I have heard people dealing with that, and that people do have problems with that. And so I say, if any of you have a problem with that, make it fun, make it competitive. You know, if you don't want the other person making more money than you, then go out and make more money than them. Just make it a game. But don't get angry about it, and don't get butthurt, is what I want to say.
How about time management? As far as structuring your day, time management techniques, any thoughts there?
I'm going to say that we're a big fail on that. We're working on that every single day. And my kids laugh because they know that. It's just time management's been really tough for us because we go constantly. But we do have a lot more going on than just normal real estate agents, though, too. So I'm going to say that.
I'm going to say that's Lynn's fault. Because I'll call Jeff at 10:30 at night and say, hey, what are you guys doing tomorrow night or tomorrow for lunch? And he'll say, let me call Lynn. She's at the office. I'll find out. Like, it's 10:30. You know? Yeah, definitely workaholics. But, yeah. Go ahead, Michelle.
I would just say that, like, if you have those moments in the day, like in the afternoon or something where it's quiet, like, enjoy that time and not feel guilty for not working, because it'll come. You'll have those nights or weekends where you're just busy.
That's a great point. Don't feel guilty about taking a little bit of a break if you're together and you have that opportunity, because you know you're going to be out later that night or the weekend working. So I like that.
Try to respect the other spouse's time when they're most effective and most efficient. Don't try to make that time your time. So mine's in the morning. She's really good at respecting the fact that I've got my head down and I'm trying to, maybe an hour before I text her back. And if it's in the afternoon or the evening, it may be an hour before I text her back. It might not be on the calendar, but we all have a certain part of our day when we're the most effective. It might be an hour, it might be 3 hours, it might be at 11 o'clock at night. Whenever that is, don't try to change it. Just work that time and respect your spouse for their ability to work in that time as well.
And I like what Eric said is don't beat yourself up over it. I mean, I know a few people that are very, very good at it, and a lot of us aren't. And so constantly striving to get better and not, doing the blame thing. It's like, well, you didn't do this when you said you were going to do it. Or, I mean, because things happen. We're in a reactive business, right? If you've got a lot of clients, your day's not always, very seldom is going to go the way you want it to go. The reason she stays at the office later at night sometimes is because nobody else is working. And she can really hunker down and she can catch up on a lot of other stuff because she was reactive during the day. So allowing yourself to constantly improve. I was talking to, I think it was you the other day about, like, I think the best moms in the world are the ones that think they're not good moms. And the reason they're the best moms is because they're conscientious about improving and getting better. And they are kind of beating themselves up, but they're looking at what's not working and going, I wanted to do better. But it's certain individuals that think they got it nailed that really don't. and so that constant improvement and wanting to be better than you are is a pretty good trait to have, I think.
Okay, so the next question, how have you changed or grown since you've been working together versus not working together?
Totally Michelle question.
I just think like making money together just adds a whole nother dynamic to our relationship, and just like having goals and building our business, and it's just added a whole nother level to our relationship that we didn't have before.
That's true, because she's giving me goals. And they used to be just mine in real estate, but now she understands it better, and obviously we've been together for over 15 years, so she's always known what those goals are for me. But now we're doing them together, and she can see the successes, and it's exciting. So it's really enhanced our relationship by just working together and having those mutual goals.
Any other thoughts?
I'll add a little bit.
Go ahead.
What was the question, though? I had a thought, but I got to put it in context.
How have you grown or changed since working together?
We're always growing and changing. I mean, we're never reach a destination in that department, right? We're always changing. And I think, like Eric and Michelle are experiencing, I love that they're on this panel because they met in real estate. We've always worked together. They have come from 2 different careers, and now they're working together. And is it even possible? Well, you listen to what they're saying. They're communicating more, they're spending more time together, they're having more fun because they're engaged in the same activities. The conversations are just different. So a lot of things have been said here that really come into play there, like the audiobooks and the podcasts. So we do the same thing. We even share them with our kids, so that when you're listening to the same thing, or if you're not listening to the same thing, you say, oh my gosh, I heard this podcast today, and you try and reiterate what you heard and the way it made you feel, they're not going to get the same thing. But if they're like, oh, I heard that, but I thought this, and the conversations are just deeper. Like, for instance, we use drive time too. Our oldest daughter lives in Sparks, Nevada. It takes about 8 hours to drive there. And we like our drive time together because we're not at the office and we can choose how we're spending our time. And often we'll listen to a book together. Like, who here has not read or listened to the 5 love languages? Nobody. No, one. Okay, well, that's on your task list. We listened to that together while we were driving to Sparks, Nevada, 8 hours. We listened to the entire book, and it kept pushing pause, and had conversations about it. Understanding people in general, but particularly your partner, on why they think the way they think and why they react the way you act, because we're complete opposites, And so understanding how she views the world and how she views attention and affection and all of that kind of stuff, and her understanding me the same way, makes all the difference. And that's just one example. The communication, I think, because we've always worked together, just keeps getting better and better and better, because we can't let things lie. We have to work it out.
And the way he keeps looking at me the way he is because we've been trying to learn how to give each other the chance to talk. Because when we get really excited about things, now that we're kind of getting out there and talking to people, which we haven't for almost 30 years, have we shared our story really, except for lately. We get so excited to share that we overtalk each other and we don't let each other talk. So we kind of look at each other real fast. Do you want to say something? But that's kind of what you're seeing with us right now.
Candace, any thoughts?
Did you notice how she said that he just looks at her when she talks too much? Like, I usually get a hard kick to the shin. Could be a little kinder. Anyway, I feel like we've been together for so long. A lot of these issues kind of, when I say we've had a lot of therapy, we have, but we meshed families, blended families. He had one, I had 2, and then we had twins together. So we've always had challenges, and I think that's helped us so much in learning how to communicate, even working together, and that because we had to really learn how to communicate and see different points of views and in not only work but raising kids. And I just think that kind of gave us because there again, I knew my role even as a parent, and he knew his, and they were very different. So we just kind of rolled that into our business and our work, and we do. I love what you said about listening to books and podcasts and pausing and talking about it. We do that all the time. Sometimes when he's like, I think we should drive to St. George. And I'm like, why? You know, because he wants to. That's when we get really our time to just uninterrupted talk.
Love it.
You know, whether it's about work, the kids, you know. I was waiting for the kick in the shin.
It's funny what she says about driving to St. George. We will rent a car just for our kids to follow us so we have our alone time. It's true.
It's true.
Another thing, don't take the busyness of one person during the day in your conversation personal. It might be something like, you're in the middle of a conversation, bye. Or I gotta go, I gotta get accept a call. You could get hung up on that, and it's really not worth it to get hung up on it, because it happens a lot. And if you're in that frame of mind and you're focused on something other than the conversation with your spouse, as bad as that sounds, if you're the one on the other end that wants to talk and you're not getting 100% of their time right then, don't take it personal.
I think that's
You know
really
what her
good.
favorite thing to do? She called me, I need you to, and I'm like, don't start your sentences that way. I need you to run a CMA, do that. I was like, I'm not doing anything.
I'm driving. Yeah, I'll call him and I'll want to talk about something, and he'll always say, "You're driving, right?" Because I'm working.
And she likes to talk while she's driving. It made me think of something else while you were talking about that. Like, what would be what most of you would think of if you thought of the opposite of love? Somebody say something. So I don't know where I heard this, but no, that's not true. If you think about it, hate is just an emotion like anything else, and it's pretty close to love. So is disappointment, frustration, anger. They're just emotions. The opposite to love would be indifference. Because I can't do anything about indifference. If she doesn't care, how do I have a conversation with her? Or how do I get on the same page? She's just not engaged. But if she's angry, or if she hates something I did or whatever, I at least know that there's something that can be fixed. I can change that emotion. But indifference, I think that's the killer of relationships and business, whether it's business and families or whatever, if they just don't care anymore. So as long as they care, if you're fighting, that's good. Just bring that shit on.
Okay, one last question. This is kind of a funny one, and then we'll open it up for the floor. But what do you do if your spouse is so hot you can't get any work done?
It's the truth.
Was that your question on the thing?
No, I didn't stop.
It was on the list. So whoever had that was good. I liked it.
You just give in to it.
I did, absolutely, 100%. I wanted to. I was laughing. If you have an answer, great. If not, we'll open it up.
It's not always easy.
Okay, let's open it up for any questions anybody has. I'll run the mic around. Just wait for me to get there, and then we can ask the questions. Hey guys, how are you? Good to see you.
Okay, does anyone have an element of healthy competition that you guys could share as an example?
No, I let her win all the time. You probably have some.
You know, that's a really good question, because I am really competitive, and he's competitive in a lot of things, but when it comes to our business, not really. No, we don't have that. But when it comes to other things, there's other things we're building. We're not just real estate agents, we're building other things. We can have competitions that way. And so that really doesn't answer your question in the real estate field. But yeah, he's really nice in allowing me to get the accolades I want and go out and go after everything that I want. But he doesn't ever pull the competition card with me.
Yeah, I mean, we're both competitive, but I don't think we compete against each other that way. Like, I'm gonna, run you into the dirt. I'm gonna win. It's none of that. I mean, we both like when each other succeeds, but
I think that's
I
more.
don't know. So back to the love languages. One of hers is words of affirmation. I don't care. You don't have to say anything to me to make me feel good. And luckily, I like to say those things to her, and it comes naturally for me. It's not forced, so she gets what she needs. But on the competitive thing, I literally would let her think she won, so she feels better.
Ooh. I don't want that. I don't want to win by that.
I guess that's me. Okay. We were fortunate in, before we met, or when we first met, I was really focused. I was really competitive. I was really into the ego. And it started to tail off shortly after that. And she celebrated that with me. And now she's more into being driven, and this time in her life where she wants to do more business, and I want to do less. So it kind of, I know that's unique, but it's kind of by default, it's complemented each other, because I really don't care how much business I do, and I love the fact that she does as much as she wants.
I think we're both competitive, but we're not competitive against each other. We really look at it as competitive against what we did last year, last month, or how are we improving, and let's compete that way and improve ourselves, and not like putting one in the dirt, right? Yeah, we're not fighting against each other competitively, which is great.
Okay, I got to follow up to that. So these guys back here, they're sitting up top. That's Mike and Colin with Neo Home Loans, and their partner Josh Metal sent me a link, knowing that we were doing this. They're our sponsors today, by the way. Say hi to them on your way out and get their cards. Thanks for the snacks and everything today, guys. But he sent me a podcast. Does anybody listen to Impact Theory? Tom Bilyeu. So it was his wife was on the podcast with him, and they used an analogy that I thought was super helpful with this. It's like being competitive. She used the analogy of tennis. Are you hitting the ball to the other side of the court, and are you competing against each other that way where somebody has to win, or are you playing doubles? Are you competitive because you're on the same side of the court? And it's just a different way to look at the same game. And it struck me because we play doubles. We're on the same side. We might be competitive, but it benefits both of us. It's not like I want to win over her, but we're going to win together. And if I contribute more, she contributes more. She takes over my weak backhand or whatever. But that was a good analogy to kind of think of a competitive situation with partners like that, is how you play tennis.
Great answer. I love that analogy. Any other questions?
I wanted to just say thank you for sharing. One of the things that I valued about this is, and that I hear, is in growing your business together as couples, you find a way to do it together. Like each of you has a different way that you run your business, you're building your business, you're helping each other succeed. How do you deal with the highs and the lows? With Gary, you guys work kind of, each have your own spheres. The other two couples seem to have your own. You're working together. You still have each other to build relationships, and I feel like that's a big value. So I just kind of wanted to know how you deal with highs and lows when the business is as stressful as it can be.
Well, again, it goes back to communication, and also I'd add in there compromise. I'm much more aggressive, like with investing, and she's more into security. Like I would rather leverage my assets, and she'd rather pay them off. And like that's why I got my real estate license. So we had a really handsome portfolio before the downturn. And we rode that a few years, and we're doing really well. But then when 08 happened, and you've got 60 properties, and your tenants are blue-collar workers that aren't working, and you're bleeding through capital, faster than you're bringing it in, that adds a lot of stress. So when '09 came around, I was like, I'm going back to her because I was the one that was over acquisitions and negotiating and doing all the fun stuff with real estate investing, managing the crews, and she had to manage everything. She had to do all the bookkeeping and everything. So in '09, I'm like, hey, all these people that screwed up the market are broke and gone. It's time for me to start investing again. And as an example of compromise, I chose to stay married instead of start investing at the rate that I was before. And to play in this arena, I got my real estate license because after we kind of stopped buying properties in '05 because the speculation was kind of screwing up our game. And then in '09 when I wanted to do that again, and in between we did some other businesses, but it just wasn't a match anymore. So my compromise was, okay, well, if I can't play the game for myself, I'll help others play the game. And that was hard. That was really, really hard. I don't know how you all got into being real estate agents, but as an investor, I never wanted to be a real estate agent. Had a lot of bad situations dealing with agents that weren't putting their clients' needs above their own. That was really detrimental to people that I was trying to help as an investor. And I was like, I ain't joining that industry. But then I did, right? And so I don't know if that answers your question, but I think the highs and the lows are a natural part of life. So we went through the lows after our high, building a portfolio, and then during that crash, that was a rough 5-10 years. But if you look at it in the long play, we came out just fine. But sorry.
I have a question about your question. So when you say the highs and lows, can you just expand on that just a little bit? Do you mean?
Well, I think it's more of the day. I think it's more of the daily events, right? Like I think you brought up, sometimes real estate is so stressful that you need to step away for a minute. And so how do you help each other through that time that you're overstressed, you're overworked, and you feel like, is it maybe you have somebody they take in, they can take up the slack and work in that part of your business, or kind of that thing. It's more of a daily thing. '08 sucked.
Sorry to bring it up.
I can answer that. Alcohol.
One more.
I think if you, when we talk about creating a win for the day, if your win is, what does your day look like when you start off? And what do you want to happen that day? What's the conversation you're having to make the difference in somebody's life? Is it working out in the morning? I always say, if I worked out in the morning and the whole day was just shit, man, I had one win. And if my day started with that one win, that might be the only win I get all day, but I got it. And if it's, I can tell in my mind that by what I'm reading or listening to, a lot of times I'm reading a depressing book that I'm not getting a lot out of, and it'll bring me down. And it's that time when I need to switch gears and I need to get into one that maybe it's one I've already read that I got a lot out of, but try to create one win and then another one and another one, and that's kind of what we do.
I think for me, looking at it is, it's actually kind of a natural occurrence when we're working together to help bring us up together, because when you have that really rough day, let's say you're at the office or you're working with a partner and something's going wrong that your partner doesn't even know about, not marriage partner, but just someone you work with or someone at the office, you're like, oh, I just remembered I have a doctor's appointment at 11:30. I'm out of here. See you tomorrow. I can't do that with Michelle because we're too close on that. So it almost forces us to bring each other back. And another thing is always having a second eye on something, because if you have two people looking at the same problem, it might not be as bad as you feel when you see it. So I have Michelle look at something, and she's new in the business, but she's been around real estate for 15 years with me. that we've been together. So she'll look at it and say, well, have you thought about this, or, maybe looking at this adjustment? I'm like, yeah, I thought of that. Thank you. That was just coming in, right? And we do it all the time. So, having a second eye on things can not only fix problems, but it helps bring your emotions back. And we do that all the time. Just Monday night, I had an offer I had multiple offers, multiple escalation clauses, and all this weird wording on these offers on this listing I was helping an agent with. And I was like, 7:30, I'm calling Jeff. Jeff, what are you doing? I said, would you just put another eyeball on this? And it just helps sometimes to be able to talk through things that I didn't have that advantage before Michelle joined me, and it's made a world of difference. Just to have that extra, eyes on a problem and an emotion. I stay up better, so I think my lows are higher and my highs might be a little bit lower, but they're fun to celebrate because we're more even keel out that way.
One little thing I wanted to add in what Eric was saying is that when you're working with a partner, you don't feel alone. Sometimes when we're working so hard and Sydney will text me at 8 at night, and she'll be working on something for our business, and I know he's working on something for our business, and it just, I don't know, just not feeling alone is kind of a big component.
Any other questions? Come there and there.
So how do you guys establish your teams and delegate?
As a couple?
You guys have teams,
Do you
right?
mean our married team or like our team?
You team in your business.
Oh, our team, okay.
Well, our team is our family, like I said before. We also have a large EXP team, but it isn't on a traditional team model where we 50-50 split and we provide leads and all that. We just collaborate a lot. Like Eric says, he calls me, I call him. We work on a lot of stuff together, but our team dynamic is more set up so that our daughters can be moms, they can work at home, and we're team leads. They actually are team, they have our office, we're included in all the marketing, everything that way. And then we do have a small split that they contribute to that. But setting up our teams kind of just happened organically. Like I mentioned, Ashley, when she first came over, she was the accountant. It was a natural transition on what she's going to be good at. When Sydney came over, it was a natural, she can plug in here. Chase is more the entrepreneur. He's a sales agent. They're all licensed now. And so he does more of the buyer and the seller side, where not as much admin role as the girls. And so it wasn't really purposeful. Just
No, we've done the same thing. I was just wondering if there was I'm trying to hear what you had set up, to see if it was different from what we've been doing. See if we can incorporate.
With family?
Yeah, our daughter's a licensed agent. She started out as my assistant for the last 2 years, and now she's got a license and she's our first buyer agent. So we're increasing our team. My wife has an assistant as well. We're looking at bringing on another buyer's agent, a transaction coordinator, or a listing coordinator type thing. So I'm just looking to see what you guys have done so we can learn from that and incorporate it.
I don't really have the experience of being on another team, so the family thing, everybody, like I said, has their roles, and so they have their split, but they all have their spot that was defined on the team, where your team might be a little bit different because you have separate admins. So having a buyer's agent or somebody, especially if they're a kid, just being a real estate agent on your team, I mean, Gary and Sheridan can talk more to the, because they have their own brokerage, and how the team dynamic might work, because you could do that whether they're family or not. Ours, I think, is a little bit unique because they're also employees, right? So they're filling those admin roles as well as being agents instead of just doing transactions.
But I do want to add that they want out of those admin roles. Both of them want to be doing what we're doing, and they're helping our business grow. They're phenomenal at what they do, but their goals are much bigger than what they're doing right now.
This one's yours.
Back to defining what, did you say your daughter? Yeah, our daughter. Okay, you know what? When you look at her and say, wow, you are really good at this, that's probably, you need to figure out a role for her in real estate, or as many things that you can get on automatic pilot that are happening organically, be it monthly mailers or calendars or client events, whatever that looks like, the more that you can get those things happening automatically, then start defining roles of what isn't happening. You know, she may be amazing at writing thank you cards. Well, you need to have her writing thank you cards. Or she may be great at saying, hey, it's a 1-year anniversary when these people bought their house or sold their house. Or we need to send out 100 just listed cards to the neighbor, or 100 just listed letters, or whatever it is. I think the sooner you can define what she's really good at and then just make her excel at that, help her excel at that.
So for us, the agents on our team they're all independent. They're not on a split with us. So really, it's Michelle and I are our team, and then our agents that help us out, and we help them out. Then the advantage of that is if we go out of town, you know, we can have somebody cover for us and help us. That's really important. And I know Jeff has mentioned to me before, he says, you know, your whole team is your family. Going out of vacation is really hard on business, right? Because you shut your whole business down kind of for a week to go on family vacation. So if you have somebody that's on an admin that's not part of your family when you leave, they can keep things afloat and working, so you're not working on vacation too. I think that would be nice. Michelle and I just went on vacation a few weeks ago, and one of our agents, I think, showed 13 or 14 houses for us and helped us put a house under contract. That was really, really helpful. I'd say, you know, if you have somebody that's not in your family too, that would be really good.
So a follow-up question would be, how do you delegate? Do you have your own ideas on what another person needs to do? How do you determine how to be able to offload something to another person and stay on the same page with each other?
So we've just discussed it. That's what we've done. Just like, what are you excited about? What do you think you're good at? And then we would just kind of run with it. Some of the things I thought Michelle would take over, I'm still doing in the business, and there's other things that she's done that I never even would have thought of that's really enhancing our business. And we'll do education classes, you know, online or through our brokerage, and she'll pull things out of there and start implementing that I haven't done, and that's been a big help. So I would say, as far as when you're defining it, I don't like saying, okay, you do this one, I do this one, you do this one, and just kind of dividing it. So what do you feel you really do well at and enjoy doing? Because take that. And I mean, these guys have been working together a lot longer than we have, and I think we're on the panel because I've been doing real estate forever, but she's kind of brand new. So we're just kind of figuring out our own roles right now. But while everyone was kind of talking, I had a thought about couples that are thinking about working together, and I'll probably mess this analogy up, but I just thought of it. But when you hear of somebody coming into a lot of money, and you heard that analogy that it changes people, but in reality, money doesn't change people. It just enhances and brings out who they already were. So for us, I was a little bit, I didn't even tell Michelle this, but I was a little bit nervous when she came on full-time, because she was working full-time as a nurse, and I'm like, don't fix it if it's not broken, right? Our life is great. We're very happy. We're very blessed. You know, what's going to happen with this change? But what we found is that our relationship was already good, really good, so it just got better. So that more time together and working together enhanced our relationship. So I would look at it that way. If anyone's thinking about, hey, can we do this? Is it going to hurt our relationship? Is it going to make it better? If you have a great relationship now and you want to spend more time together and you miss each other and you want that, and you say, man, I wish I could have more vacations, or I wish I could, something happens at work and you're like, oh, I want to call my spouse, but I can't because they're really busy right now. I'll tell them later. If you're having that kind of feelings, I think it's really going to enhance your business and your relationship working together, because it's kind of like that analogy. Everything kind of gets, it increases everything that you already have in that relationship working together. That's what it's been like for us. We wish we'd have done it a lot sooner, but yeah, it's a big leap, right? Because it's the unknown of the relationship and work, both, not just work. So,
just an add on to that, what he said, and since you're talking about family, our kid started, except for Chase, he got his license and came and joined the team, but the girls started as employees. We encourage them to get licensed because we just want to provide as many options, you know, not just for our clients, but for our kids as possible. So if they're licensed, now instead of us doing transactions for like their friends and their friends' parents and this and that, they can start creating their own SOI. Even if they didn't do real estate, they could refer now and collect referral fees. We create more opportunity for them. So when Ashley came over, and she literally said, "Dad, you got to save me. She's pregnant, she's going to have a baby, and she's working 80-hour tax weeks." And she's like, "I can't do this." And so that was an opportunity. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. We created a role based on her strengths, and we already knew administrative-wise what she was good at, right? Well, you can come in here. Then when Sydney came on, it was the same thing. She had her strengths. She helps with the property management. Well, she kind of worked into that role. That's not what she really wanted to do. And that goes to the fact that when we had them both, it's like, now here's your other job. Take as much off of her plate as you can. So that together they work on developing systems and protocols and helping with the property management and business in any way where they can contribute, and defining their own business and, you know, putting their foothold in the family business, which they'll take over someday anyway, right? And it's just like Lynn said, now they've experienced realtor life and working with clients and helping people succeed, and it's like, I like this way better. And so we probably will now make another transition. We'll probably just transition them out of the salary, which of course isn't like what we'd be paying somebody else, because they are also moms, you know, so there's a compromise there as well. We would be paying somebody else full-time that was grinding 8-10 hours a day versus, you know, going to soccer practices and, you know, all that stuff and the things that you have to do as a mom. We can afford to, you know, make it a win-win.
I have to say our kids are talent, though. They are total talent. Like, we are so lucky to have them. So when Sydney came on, her love is she's just a creative. So she came and totally rebranded us. And she does our marketing and everything. I mean, the property management, she holds that together. She's phenomenal with that. But yeah, we're just really lucky to have them. And I guess the best thing you can hope for is that they want, you know, they want to actually do the family business, because we've worked hard for this. And so if none of our kids were into it, it would be off. For me, I'd be really sad, because we've worked so hard and we get to pass that along. And that's what I love so much about it. Legacy is a really big word with us. So.
You had a question over here, right?
I was going to try to phrase it as a hypothetical. We're asking for a friend. My partner is in real estate, but in a very different capacity, like on the corporate side, thinking about doing resale together. But I guess any of us that were active in this spring and early summer know that there's just chaos that was going on. A lot of emotions and everything like that. In working with one of my closest friends for 15 years, loved her to death, decided wanted to sell his home. My mother was recently engaged. Not to get into too deep to that, but definitely had to have the control over everything. But had a shitty credit score and no money, and she had all of the rest, right? So it was balancing the two, and it worked out perfect. Like, they sold their home, we got right into another one, and there was nothing that went bad. But in being so close to this friend, I had to tell them some hard things, right? I had to be blunt. I couldn't sugarcoat everything. And I think, you know, some offenses were taken to that, which I understand, but, you know, it's caused like a rift, not least on my side. Like, I'm fine, but it obviously caused a rift on their side. And so has that ever happened to either of you in working just individually with your good friends where, you know, it changed a very important dynamic.
In the relationship of the client?
Yeah, and your friendship, yeah.
I fortunately haven't really had that.
No, and I think Eric and Michelle like go on appointments together. They meet with their clients together, whereas Jeff and I aren't like that. Like he meets with his clients, I meet with my clients, but he helps on some of the back end stuff like the PRs and stuff like that with me. And so together as a couple, we haven't dealt with friendships like that. That is hard. I mean, there's a lot of emotion right now anyway, right? And then you put in the friend component. But yeah, no, that really hasn't happened.
We haven't had that either. But one thing that we work with friends, and we're a referral-based business, so it's something that you always think about, and you focus so hard to make sure nothing is missed, and you're very careful. But when your referrals that can be your friends send you business, or you work with those friends, you know, we always say that we want to help you as professionals and keep it separate, and we're always going to be, you know, friends separate and business. But at the same time, none of the people that don't like you send you any business, right? So it is all your friends and referrals that you work with anyway. So we haven't had that issue, but we're very careful about, you know, that interaction, and we really try to look at our clients as friends as quickly as possible. Anyway, if we get a referral and we don't even know them, we want them to be friends after the transaction. So that's a focus for us. And in fact, I've heard Jeff say this multiple times. Like when you have a client appreciation event or day, it's a friend appreciation day, right? And I think Jeff's even said he had a client say that he was offended you called me a client. He was like, I thought we were friends. So you have to divide it in business with a transaction, but other than that, you know, we try to stay friends with everybody.
There's nothing more gratifying than to be sitting at the kitchen table or the family room and they answer the phone and said, we need to call you back with our friends, you know. And having heard, we're with our realtor a couple hundred times, you know, and when they say with their friends, it sure feels nice to know that you've made that kind of an impact where they can call you that. Also, I think we need to spend more time telling our clients when we get the opportunity to tell them that, hey, we have a choice too. We get to choose to work with you. This goes both ways, because I want to enjoy the transaction. I want to enjoy our time together. Remind them that in the beginning, and you probably have a better chance of that happening.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that, you know, kudos to you that you made it through that, because there are times where you're working with someone and they're just so ego-driven or hard-headed that you're trying to help them through the transaction, but they're not really allowing you to because they have to know more than you do. And so that's just a difficult situation. I don't think you're going to see that a lot.
It was easy being 100% professional, but for the long-lasting relationship, it was just this outside force that has to be part of that as well.
Sometimes parents do that.
Yeah.
You know, parents come in and you'll be working with their son or daughter. You'll have their best interest in mind, and the parents will say, "Well, I've never seen prices this high," you know, and totally kill the deal. You know, it's like, but this is where they are. But what he was saying is that, yeah, we do have a choice. We can fire people. We don't have to work with people that don't treat us with respect. And my clients are my friends. I mean, they are.
Okay, we've got time for one more question.
So this goes along with the life-work balance, and I actually like what all you had to say with that at the beginning of just saying that it is life, it's all a part of what we do. My question would be, do you prep your clients of maybe having some personal time in your life? So, for example, do you turn your phones off at a certain time at night where you're not necessarily being reached out to at certain times where you can sit back and have a drink with your spouse and not worry about people bugging you?
I wish the Virginians were here because Corey answered that so well at our office, because we got together, before this to just kind of get to know each other. And he said that if we answer the phone at 10 o'clock at night, we are training our clients exactly how to treat us. And I'm very, very guilty of that. So that has stuck with me since he said that, and he'd have a great answer for you. But you're exactly right. You should just turn off your phone at a certain point and don't train them that they can get a hold of you at 11:30.
Well, and let them know that there's nothing that happens at 10 or 11 o'clock at night that can't be rectified or done at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, because you're not going to get a hold of the other agent anyway. You know, they might have this emergency in their mind because they just thought of something, or we got to, respond or whatever, but there's other people to the equation that are going to make your efforts at 11 o'clock at night fruitless. And so just kind of explaining the dynamic of all of the players in the transaction and what you could possibly do. It's just a conversation, right? It's not like, here's my rules, but send me a text. I very seldom can just answer the phone. Like, anybody that's called me during this thing, I'm not going to answer the phone, right? So I teach everybody to text me first. I have a question about X, when will you be available for a conversation? So if they do that at night, I can respond to a text and say, I'll call you back at 9 a.m. or whatever. I can do something really quick to where I satisfy that, okay, they got that off their chest, I'm aware of the situation, but there's no emergency, right? So I guess without even knowing it, that's how I've coached them, is text me first, let me know what you have to talk about, and ask me when I'm free.
So you as a couple don't necessarily have like, hey, at this time we turn our phones off, we're just,
No, it's kind of different for me. I mean, I love what I do. And so I don't really have a big separation between work and play and family, especially when we're doing it together. So if we're actually, working on a counter offer at 10 o'clock at night, we're doing it together. And to me, that's fun. It's engaging. We're still spending time together. I personally, I don't have to shut off at a certain hour so that then we can have me time, because even our work is our time. That's me.
And that, I guess that's why we get along, because that is the way we are. But remember, we're also empty nesters. We don't have little kids in the house anymore. So that's a big component, right? We weren't real estate agents when our kids were little, and we were doing different businesses. And that's exactly why I didn't get my license until he graduated, because my mom, who was sitting next to Sydney, when she started real estate, my gosh, she just killed it, right? And she was always doing real estate, and she didn't have time for us. And I didn't want to be that. So you have to do you. I'm that person that if I don't instantaneously get back to someone, I feel like a failure. So that's a personality flaw I have. So you just got to do what is good for you, because we're all different, and set those boundaries if that's what you want.
Well, and kids bring in that dynamic, so maybe Eric and Michelle can speak to that. They still have young ones.
I think to answer your question for me is, I have a really hard time turning off my phone and wondering what came in later. And before, I used to feel really guilty about it before Michelle joined me. If I got a late night text from an agent, I would feel guilty about addressing that when I'm sitting right next to her, where now she understands that better. So it's really helped us as a couple that way. But after 9 or 9:30, if I'm getting texts from a buyer or a seller that can wait till tomorrow, I really do my best to wait until the morning unless it's urgent. But also, with our brokerage, I raised my hand to volunteer to be a mentor for new agents that come in. So I'm helping new agents. I don't know all the time what they're doing, if they're going to be putting an offer in, late at night. So I have to have my phone on anyway, just in case something comes up, because everything in real estate's an emergency, right? Especially in this market. You got to do it now. So I'm really bad about shutting it off, but I think we're both okay with that, right? For the most part, yeah.
I think it can start with something as simple as putting it on your voicemail. I know Mark Fay here, who's with our office, he says, this is when I'm available. If it's after this time, you're not going to hear from me. I take a lot of pride in the fact that you're able to do that, and you're training your agents to what's okay in your world. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. You know, the clients are relying on us a lot for our guidance. They're giving us control. They're giving up control. You know, if you have the option of putting a house on the market on a Tuesday or waiting until Friday, and your family's important and you want the weekend, you know, work a little bit during the week. You know, that's your choice. It doesn't always work that way, but every once in a while you have that choice, and they're going to listen to you. And give them that opportunity to listen to you, and keep your weekends free if they're important to you.
I think everybody's different too. So like if you need that, if you say, I need that time at a certain point each evening to turn it off, then do it. Make those rules for yourself, for your sanity and your happiness. I think everyone's a little bit different on that. I myself, I hate the backlog sometimes the next day if I don't address something easy that I can just take care of by text. But I'd say if it's really up to you and kind of your personality, if you'd rather take it on or keep that time completely shut out from real estate.
I think I'm probably more like Lynn too. I have a hard time not responding. He's better at it, but I've also, you know, I was in real estate, and then when we had the twins, I didn't sell for 10 years. You know, and I took that time. I always has been, first and foremost, has been being a parent. But then, you know, that was a hard, difficult time too, because I never had any of that adult interaction. You know, I was home with 2 babies, you know, all day long, and, you know, it's just, I want to talk to somebody other than the purple dinosaur, whatever his name was.
Barney.
You know, and he would come home and be like, I'm done. You know, and I'm like, well, okay, well, just have an adult conversation with me. But then when I started again, it was just like starting from zero. You know, I didn't sell for 10 years, and so I kind of, in some of this conversation, have felt where you guys are in. I almost felt like I was starting over again, and that I've had to learn how to. Really, the only going back to your question, because I divert a lot. I think even when we go on vacation, we're still communicating. We like to think that nobody knows we're gone when we're gone. And we have a great team that does that. And going back to yours too, you know, we had, I know I'm all over the place, but we ended up getting both our own separate assistants too. We tried to share one, and that just didn't work because, you know, he thinks his stuff is more important than mine, and me, you know, vice versa. So once we, you know, split that up, that worked a lot better. But going back to knowing when to shut it off, really the only time we actually don't either take our phones in with us is if we're at dinner, not at home, but, you know, out at dinner. Because otherwise, why go to dinner if you're going to be on your phone the whole time and answering questions, and, you know, you can do that at home. But it's just finding, like, you know, Eric said, everybody's different, you know. I mean, he's in bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, you know. So he shuts it off then just because he's asleep, you know. So, but he's up at 4 a.m. too, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not answering phone calls at 4 o'clock. Everybody knows that they can call him at 4 a.m. and he'll answer. You know, so I think it is you setting the standard up front with your clients, and you know, mine do know that they're very courteous, believe it or not. You know, they're not, you don't have to answer this, but if I didn't ask you this now, you know, I'd forget, type thing. And so a lot of times, you know, they're courteous of that. You always get those ones that it's like every 15 seconds, you know. But I think it's you just setting the standard up front, so to speak.
Well, this has been an awesome panel. I hope everybody learned as much as I did from this. I want to thank our panelists, too, for spending the time to be here and put this on. And yeah, we're going to try and do more events similar to this. So keep it in the survey that you got at the beginning. You should have checked a box. So keep an eye out for that. Because I think there's a lot to learn, right? There's tons of experience here, and it's amazing to be able to surround yourself with people that are where you want to go. So with that, we'll wrap the panel up. Jeff, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, thanks for coming, guys.